Hi guys, how's it going? Heidi back again. Got my cat here with me. Hi kitty. There's the other kitty. My goal today is to install the second window. So here's the first one. It's an awning window. Turned out really great. I love it. Here's the next window. I'll go ahead and separate this from the trim ring. What I did is I took my butyl tape. There's a little area right here with the weather stripping. It's really nice, but it's very narrow. It's only about 3/8 of an inch wide. The butyl tape I have is about a little over an inch wide. So I took the butyl tape, I cut it long ways to make it more narrow. And then what I did is, when I did this last window, I took that narrow strip of butyl tape and I put it along the window here, so that when I put the window in, the butyl tape got squished against the metal. That just gives it an extra layer of protection from leaks, water leaking, water getting in. See, yeah, you can kind of see it over here. If you look closely, you can see this uneven blobbiness. That's the butyl tape. All right, I bent the cardboard the shape of this window ledge, and then I folded up this part here, so I made a little trough. So there's plenty of room for the metal shavings to be caught. And then I went ahead and just taped it directly to the wall. And then this area right up here, I took and rolled the tape over, this painter's tape, and made like a bed of tape here. That worked really great when I did this other window, because basically all the metal shavings, as I'm cutting out, the metal shavings are falling onto this tape, and it did a really good job holding on to most of the debris. If you've got any framing in, and then you're trying to cut from the inside, your jigsaw's not going to fit. It's not going to fit. I thought I left a big enough opening, but it didn't fit. So when I was telling my friend about this, he's like, why didn't you just cut it from the outside? And I said, well, because I already have the framing in, how do I line it up on the outside? And he's like, just put the cardboard on the wall, drill two holes, then go outside with the piece of cardboard template and line it up with the holes. And I was like, what do you mean? All right, so I'll show you what he was talking about. So what I've done is I've taken a marker and I've marked a mark here. Then I've taken and marked a marker up here. So this corner up here near the edge of the template, about a 1/2 inch. On this side, same thing. This lower corner and then this top corner. I've got a mark here. I've got a mark here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my drill. I'm going to drill a hole through this black mark, through the template, through the metal. Then I'm going to come over here and drill a hole here, through the template and through the metal. So if this works out the way I hope it will, I will then be able to take this cardboard template, take it off the wall, walk outside, stick it on the side of the van, and then I'll have a little hole right here in this cardboard, or a little hole right here in the cardboard, and I can line up those holes in the cardboard with the holes that are going to be in the van. Of course, I've written on here this is inside, so then when I take this cardboard outside, where it says inside, I'll face that against the van. Then those holes should line up perfectly. And then once I have them lined up, I'll tape it on the exterior. I'll get out my tape measure. I'll double check the measurements on the outside are lining up with some of the lines on the outside of the van, some of the indentations in the metal. I'll make sure it looks like it's level and the holes are lined up. Hopefully y'all learn from my mistakes. Talk to you guys here in a little bit. All right, bye. What up, y'all? Working on the window. This is going to be part 2 of window installation. Got this baby in. I'll show you again. Nice and straight. Turned out beautifully. This is my third or fourth time installing a window. Before, I did it in a cargo trailer. I made all my mistakes on the cargo trailer. And now that I've graduated to the van build, I'm getting it right. So what I talked about earlier is the fact that you should put your windows in immediately. I feel like subfloor windows are kind of like first things. I didn't do that. As you can see, I've got like a lot of building done in here. I had a lot of issues with windows. The windows that I ordered were defective. I had to wait a whole month for a refund, and then I had to order new ones. I had to save up more money, and then I ordered them. And so my window installation was delayed by about 2 months. So what I did was I took that cardboard template, I put it on the wall in here where I wanted it, taped it up, measured everything to make sure it was level and even. Then I drilled 2 holes, one in a lower corner and one in an upper corner. I drilled through the cardboard, through the metal, and I gave myself 2 reference points. And as you can see here, I've stuck a couple of nice drill bits through these holes to hold them in place. I got one here and one up here. Inside, let's go see what that looks like on the outside. One more time. Hang on one moment while I walk around the van. Okay, here we go. Here's the window. Beautiful. Okay, so you can see here the drill bit sticking out of the hole, and this one down here sticking out. So that gave me a reference point so that I could come out here and put my cardboard template up. I lined up the holes that I had put in the cardboard from the inside with the holes in the metal that I drilled up here and down here. I stuck that up there. I used some tape to hold it in place. Then I got out my measuring tape and I double checked that I've got it level and it's straight. So using this metal seam, which I'm assuming is straight and true, which it probably isn't, but using that as a reference point, I just put the measuring tape in this groove and measure the distance from this metal seam to the top of the cardboard, which ends up being about 5 3/4. Okay, measured it here. It's about 5 3/4, and I measured it here, and it's about 5 3/4. So now that I have my reference points tacked into place with these drill bits that I just used because they were handy. I was going to use nails, but I couldn't find any nails to stick in the holes. Now that I feel pretty confident it's level, it's in the correct position, I've double checked it on the inside, I am going to go ahead, draw my line. Of course, this goes without saying, when you do this, you want to put a nice wide swath of painter's tape on the metal. Draw your line on the painter's tape, because once I remove the cardboard and I get ready to come in here with my jigsaw, the metal plate of the jigsaw is going to be running along the side of the van, and if you didn't have tape up here, you would get some nasty scratches. Then I learned from my experience before that when you go to trace around cardboard, the edges of the cardboard, because it's corrugated, right? It's corrugated. And when you go to try to draw a line along that corrugation, sometimes you'll get a little bit of an indentation and the line may not be perfectly straight. Then when you go to cut, you might be off just by millimeters, but you would be surprised at if you're off when you go to cut your hole for your window. If you're off by 2, 3, 4 millimeters, the hole's going to be a little bit too big and it's not going to have the best result. When I did my first window, my first cargo trailer, the window hole I cut was too small, then it was too big. I had to start all over, get a bigger window, cut it again. And I don't ever want to run into these issues again, because it's obviously time consuming and then you're wasting money on materials. So anyhow, So because the cardboard will give a little bit because of the corrugation, I took foil tape. So this is the type of tape that you might put around ductwork. It's literally an aluminum. It's a thin layer of aluminum that's sticky. So it's very stiff and hard. So I went ahead and I taped the edge of the template with that aluminum tape, and that gave me a nice hard edge to trace around. All right, these are my tips for now. That's all I got right now, guys. Talk to you in a little bit.